Hello, and welcome to episode 29 of Uncovering the Corners of the World podcast. I'm your host, Karina Kosmala. Using research and my personal experiences, where I actually set foot in some of these places, I'll be describing some of the unknown attractions in both the US and around the world. On our last episode, we traveled through Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania to see the Gobbler's Knob, then drove through New Hope to see the Bowman's Tower, and our last stop was in Ambler, Pennsylvania, walking through the Stuggium Museum. This week we are continuing our adventure in Pennsylvania, where we will be visiting 3 places: the Fountain of Youth, the Oliver Miller Homestead, and the Leap the Dips roller coaster. Our first attraction is something that I only thought existed in legends and stories, where there is a fountain flowing with water, where if you drink the water from this fountain, you'll be restored to your younger self and never age. Hidden in the deep, dark woods of Pennsylvania, in Allison Park at 10127 Cummer Road, Wexford, Pennsylvania, is a brick wall with a circular sign that says, Fountain of Youth, above the doorway. It's called the Fountain of Youth, but unfortunately it does not have any power to make anyone forever young. It was believed to be built by the Works Progress Administration workers, the WPA, in 1938. The Fountain of Youth was said to be a spring house designed as a grotto-typical in every detail of a Roman cavern. While the water was tested by chemists in 1953, there was no magical powers found in the water. It was just cold and pure water. However, the pump handle that the water flowed through was rusted and eventually removed. In 1955, it turned out that the water had coliform organisms, making it unsafe to drink. In 2009, the entrance to the spring was repaired, but there is a sign that states that the water is not treated or tested for drinking. Our next attraction takes us to the history of the 1794 Whiskey Rebellion, where farmers and distillers protested a tax that the federal government placed on whiskey in western Pennsylvania. In western Pennsylvania, farmers distilled whiskey because it was easier to move than the grains it was made out of. These farmers protested in 1794 when the federal government placed a tax on whiskey. Specifically, the tax required farmers to register their whiskey business and pay a cash tax as well. This protest is known today as the Whiskey Rebellion. At Buffalo Drive, South Park Township, Pennsylvania, is the Oliver Miller Homestead, where one of Oliver Miller's sons, named William, argued with the Inspector of Revenue, who served him a court order which was a fine of $250 if he refused to register his whiskey business and appear at the federal court in Philadelphia. William was angry about this order, since he was planning to move to Kentucky anyway and already sold part of his farm. So he demanded that the inspector gets off his property. Other farmers heard the discussion and fired shots at the officers, starting the Whiskey Rebellion. Fast forward 227 years later, and at the Oliver Miller Homestead is an old stone farmhouse. This was the former home of Oliver Miller, his wife Mary Tidball Miller, and their 9 out of 10 children who lived in the home in 1772. The old stone farmhouse includes 6 rooms, but the rooms that can be visited are the kitchen that includes a fireplace, 3 bedrooms on the 2nd floor, and the 1st floor is dedicated to spinning and weaving. Not too far from the farmhouse, there is a beehive oven, a fire pit which was used for cooking food outdoors, and for making candles. There's also a spring house where food was stored to keep it cool, along with where water was stored, and a shed, which today holds demonstrations of chair making and repairing objects made out of tin. Later on, in 1988, a log house was added, constructed in the style of a 1790s home. In 1991, a forge was added. The forge served as the place where tools would be repaired. In 2005, a barn was added, and inside the barn there are detailed exhibits of the history of the Whiskey Rebellion and farming tools. The last attraction is for the roller coaster fans. At Lakemont Park, 700 Park Avenue, Altoona, Pennsylvania, is the oldest roller coaster in the world, and you can still take a ride on it. In 1902, the wooden roller coaster designed by E. Joy Morris, called Leap the Dips, first opened its gates in Lakemont Park. Leap the Dips roller coaster stands at 41 feet tall and includes 7 cars with 4 seats, driving on 1,170 feet of wooden track with no safety restraints. No worries, the fastest the roller coaster can go is 10 miles per hour, while the whole ride lasts 1 minute. The Leap the Dips roller coaster is not fast or stomach-turning thrills, but it's considered Pennsylvania's historic landmark. The roller coaster closed in 1985 after Boyer Bros Candy Company bought the Lakemont Park from Ralph Albarano and renamed it to Boyertown. The Boyer Bros Candy Company no longer wanted to have Leap the Dips roller coaster in the park because it was too costly to maintain it. The new park, Boyertown, was not as popular as Lakemont Park, and Ralph Albarano bought the park back in 1988 and renamed it Lakemont Park. In 1991, the Leap the Dips roller coaster was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. By having the roller coaster listed on the National Register of Historic Places, this meant that the roller coaster had to be restored to how it was in 1902, with the same wood being cut to the same form as it was in 1902. The Leap the Dips roller coaster returned to the Lakemont Park after 1991, and it is still in operation today. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Check out the website article, What is Pittsburgh's Fountain of Youth, from the Pittsburgh Magazine. To learn more about the Oliver Miller Homestead, visit the website olivermillerhomestead.org. Lastly, for more information about the oldest roller coaster, Leap the Dips, read the article Leap the Dips, A Thrill from the Past by Todd W. Fortwalt at the Pennsylvania Center of the Book website. Be on the lookout for a new episode of Uncovering the Corners of the World podcast, where we will be traveling to Texas. Have a great week.